Yo, today I want to share why I recorded 350 videos for B2B SaaS founders. And I wanted to record this because just a few days ago, I have celebrated crossing a quite significant milestone of hitting 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. I would say out of all the channels I've used in my life, this might have taken the longest, comparing the time investment and how like how long the compound effect has been kicking in. But I'm super happy that it has now occurred and you are here celebrating this with me, because I have spent like years writing tweets and threads, then months doing some TikToks to realize this is completely not for me, and then cringe posting. Well, I was not posting some crying CEO type posts on LinkedIn, but still, I would say in its majority, LinkedIn is not really my vibe, because I would say that I don't know, either it's too leftist or whatever, but not planning to get political here. Anyways, in this video, it's not gonna be packed with some secret SaaS sauce marketing stuff as usual, but I just wanted to finally share a bit more about myself so that we get to meet each other and learn more about each other. As I thought, well, with 5,000 people being subscribed, now why don't I finally tell you more about who I am. And for this milestone celebration video, I am wearing quite an important hoodie for me, which also has quite a cool design on the back. And the hoodie is called Power Play here. And actually, it's one of my clients' startups, and he gave it to me. And there is quite a story there. So couple years back, I was scaling SaaS camp, and I hired a person to run my YouTube channel and help me with content. And within the first day of hiring the guy, I realized that, look, he's just too competent and too smart for me to be giving him some $5 an hour type of tasks. And the first day of working together, I instantly gave him some higher level recruitment activities and so on. After a couple months working together, building great relationship with Ilya, basically, well, from the start, I knew like how smart and how competent he is, that he is going to be launching his own business sooner or later. And it was great pleasure working with him and having him contribute to SaaS Camp growth while I grew to the team of 12, and he helped me manage all of this a ton, especially during the time period when I was heavy doing outbound campaigns, cold emails, etc. So while working with me, we were doing a lot of outbound cold email, and back then running this LinkedIn accounts and reaching out from, I would say, uh, at one moment of time we had about 10 14 different LinkedIn accounts doing outbound every day, and that's how I was booking like 35 calls a week through outbound. So he was helping me build out all these systems, because I joined a couple masterminds which were preaching towards for outbound, etc. And I don't of course I do not regret doing outbound for years, because now I can have a very leveled perspective on pros and cons for each marketing channel. And I just understand that, as if you have like some money to run them, they just are so much better. Because if if with outbound you are always trying to outsmart different platforms restrictions and you're on this edge of getting banned, with ads the whole story is just so much better, because the platform actually wants you to win instead of trying to find all the different reasons to ban you. Anyway, so Ilya learned how to run all this cold email infrastructures while working with me and while we were running them for SaaS Camp and some of my other projects. And at one point of time, he was like, Denis, awesome working with you, but I want to go and start my own ventures now. And I knew this moment is going to come sooner or later. Some people in my place, I think they would be trying to gatekeep a lot of information from employees, but I understand that, you just lose so much out of things you could have achieved if you try to gatekeep stuff from people you work with. And I'm very well, it's good that I didn't gatekeep anything from Ilya, and he always had a full picture of how the business is running or how everything works, etc., etc. So thanks to that, I think he's been able to get quite a good understanding of, okay, what it requires to be running this um, hundreds of outbound domains, all the infrastructures, etc. And that's how I, like, the moment he started talking about him leaving me to start his own ventures, I thought that, okay, look, knowing Elias and his work ethic, I knew that sooner or later he's gonna build a successful business. And knowing that he's so competent, I thought that let me just jump on the success train early while there are some seats there still. And I offered that for certain compensation I would be helped, like it was like a mix of rev shares, equity, whatever. And based on that, and I did offer this just knowing that we have already been working more than half a year by then and built a very close relationship. And that's why I thought, okay, look, I would love to help you make this successful sooner. And I know that you will. It's just hopefully with my help, you're going to get there, bypassing all the uh, expensive mistakes I've made for you. So that's how basically we started testing different offers. And the one which was about cold email infrastructures, and it was like, I cannot really call it a service, neither I can really call it a SaaS. So it was somewhere in between, I think it's like code assisted agency, or some people may refer to it as these days AI assisted agency, because we found that the best formula was selling it as a service on the front end and then having the product do a lot of delivery on the back end. So that's why sometimes I refer to it as SaaS, sometimes like differently. Anyways, it took us a couple months to understand, okay, which direction to go, etc. Because early on, he was building it primarily as something on the lead generation side, while we then identify there is a clear market gap for all this people doing the outbound on how their deliverability works and how they're getting into spam and not getting nice results because of it. And that's why the product he has built was around this cold email infrastructure space. So basically, long story short, he got to 31K MRR by around month 7, month 8, considering he's been starting with basically nothing. He did build a couple of other businesses in the past, I think back in his college years, but this one, I mean, got significantly more traction than all the other ones combined. So, and I'm really proud to have contributed to that from my side as well. He then bought his dream Porsche Cayenne, which he was dreaming about since his early years of playing GTA Online. And on my Instagram right now, I've got a couple of pictures of us driving in his Porsche Cayenne, because this was one of these huge celebrative moments in his journey, which I happened to be by his side back then and still am. And it's just super cool that, imagine, the guy got into his third year of university or college, and he basically, no doubt, was the only person riding such a cool whip in his fourth year of studies. And it just feels so awesome helping someone. I mean, it's not that my dream is also owning a car, but I understand that for him it's been quite special his entire life. So that's why we together celebrated this milestone. And the same week of us driving in his new Porsche Cayenne, we also got the hoodies designed. So the Power Play, his company name. That's why I always love wearing this, not only because it looks cool and comfy, but also it just reminds me of how awesome of an impact you can drive when you care about people. And that's why I'm wearing this hoodie today. And going to the next point of, okay, with this story, why I have started doing this in the first place about 4 years ago. So I have been studying at the university and building different ecom projects and software startups. And back then I was very big on all the no-code tools, which are have now become the norm. But back then it was quite a um, early growth stage for all this. For those of you who may know Bubble, IO, then Adalo, Glide apps, and stuff like that. And back then, when there was no Claude bot, or when there was no Lovable, years back, there were other things to be building your apps with. So I built different projects here and there, and I've done a couple of ecom, like some of them were drop shipping, and some of them were this Russian analog for Amazon FBA thing, with us basically reselling dog toys. And this one ecom venture went better than all the other ones I ran combined. Anyways, so I launched a couple of startups, and with me, I basically, back then I made every single mistake you can think of, is spending months building the product just to find out it's a useless product, then talking to a couple people, to a few people, getting some of them pay you, and then just discovering that, as I was afraid to charge a decent price. And it's funny for me to recall, but basically I was afraid to charge $100 or $200 for access, and that's why I was giving this special buy now offer that if you get it on a call, it's going to be $10. Lol. And now I understand that most people buying this, I think they were mainly doing it just because how pathetic this shit was, that someone spent an hour with them on a sales call just to pitch some shit for $10. So I get it now why in the end they weren't using it once I have spent 3 to 5 months actually building it. And there were different iterations of stuff similar to that. One of them was a different thing was an app for medical students to prepare for exams. And I know that having some more business acumen, I think this is still a valid niche to go after. It's just back then I was thinking that I'm gonna get students pay and compensate well for this app, while it was a false way to approach it. And it was this one, then a couple other apps. One of them was closer to a SaaS product. And with a couple of them, I started getting some traction and started actually getting some sales coming in. It's not that I got them anywhere to like very significant milestones. And that's why I understand that there are some people out there who have may scaled like billion-dollar SaaS companies, who may also be doing like some coaching advisory towards other entrepreneurs. However, with them having very significantly successful SaaS business, I think that, at least what I believe in is that there are many situations when someone has achieved the result, and yet they are not very good at explaining another person how to actually get there too. And I would say that I am on a completely other part of the spectrum. I had dozens and dozens of situations in my life when, for example, for one exam at university, I explained a friend of mine the entire material so well that she ended, like, despite her being afraid she's not gonna fail the exam, she ended up getting a grade something like 20-30% better than mine. And I had like so many stories like this in my life, when just by me being able to like communicate or explain something clearly, the other person was actually getting significantly better results than me. I think an interesting analogy here would be Alex Ferguson, for those of you who know football, or Americans would refer to as soccer. Sure. So Alex Ferguson, I think none of us would know a single accomplishment he's achieved as a football player, and yet many people who even passively are into football know that his accolades and his everything that he has won with Man United as a coach turned Man United into such a significant club that they are today, even though in the last few years they've been awful. Anyways, so I think that a similar analogy works here. So coming back to me building those apps, some founders in the space started noticing that I was getting some signs of early traction, and they started approaching me asking for help. And one of them, and I think if you scroll like to the very early days of my channel, I think you'd be able to find him. So he has spent more than a year trying to get some customers on his product, and he was barely like at $300 MRR or something. And I just told him 10 things, or like 5 to 10 things to do. He has done them within a couple of weeks. Within a couple of weeks, he has crossed a couple thousand in MRR. Even though these are like quite, well, fun numbers to talk about these days, but for him, it's been something out of this world, especially like at least considering what he has been telling me in his Zoom calls, in our Zoom calls as a result. And because imagine you're putting like night and day to try to get some sales for your app, and you get more progress in weeks than you had in years. And for me, it felt like a very special moment, and being able to contribute to someone's success like this. And then he also paid me some money for it. And then this clicked in my brain that, wait, I can do this thing which I enjoy so much, which was like pushing people towards their goals. And at the same time, I can get compensated for it, which seemed fantastic. And that's how I got into doing this coaching and advisory full time. And this was about 4 years back. After that, so initially I was working both with people running mobile apps and SaaS startups. Then for the last years, I would say that I thought, okay, let me just niche down to something which I know better. Back then, I knew that for scaling mobile apps, a huge aspect of it is about app store optimization, which I had like no clue about. And I knew that this is an important factor, yet I wasn't like anywhere competent in it. And that's how I thought, okay, I have a lot more understanding of different products and SaaS world, just because of me spending a couple of years prior to that building all these tools with no code. And that's how I doubled down on the SaaS part of things. And I would say that it took me like, of course, the first 5-10 clients were the slowest for me to get. I think in the first year, I onboarded as many people as I would be onboarding monthly year 2 onwards, something like that. But the compound effect kept continuing on, and thankfully I've been collecting all testimonials and stuff like that since then. And I was doing different marketing channels for the time. I was like posting I was posting a couple threads a week on Twitter, and that's why I think I've gotten quite some presence there over time, and you will find my Twitter guide somewhere on my channel. And honestly, I think that it might still be one of the most useful Twitter growth guides for scaling. I mean, could be for selling digital products, but also for selling software solutions there as well. Just because back then I joined multiple masterminds about Twitter growth, and I was honestly quite surprised watching it again years later, how deep level of insights I was sharing there. So you can give it a look. Then this story continued for years and years, and as I mentioned, so for quite some time, I was like, okay, the first clients I got through outbound. That's how I continued scaling the outbound efforts. That got me into cold email game, LinkedIn outbound game, etc. And I've spent years using them for my own business, and then also as a result preaching them to software founders I've been working with. And that's how for years, if you have been on this channel for so long, you would know that, or you can scroll down now. In my early videos, you'll find a lot of stuff about how to scale using outbound approach, etc. But I think it was year 2024 when there were a lot of different updates introduced to cold email game, making it just the barrier. Imagine, because even though, like, for many agency guys or for myself, I've already been doing this for quite some time. I do have a solid free infrastructure, a couple of people helping me out. Some of them are very technically savvy, etc. So I did know there are always ways here and there how to beat the system and still continue getting results despite all these restrictions coming out. But for me, I also understood that it's one part of the game for me to learn how to do this, because my business is actually about me helping and teaching other founders how to get results with different systems. And this is what got me to understand that, look, even if I, having built this infrastructure, would be getting such results, I just understood that, look, for me, to get someone to understand all the technicalities which are required just to even get the first 10 meetings in, the barrier of entry has gotten just so much higher than it's supposed to be. And it was this story. And then at the same time, I got my LinkedIn account banned. I just recently recovered it after a year and a half of it being lost. And honestly, over my life, I think it's my fourth LinkedIn account already, because, well, the first one, okay, fine, I was doing many things, many dodgy things back then, which I think well, actually, fuck it. So basically, I was like scraping LinkedIn events, I was scraping different groups and using other like gray hat stuff. And that's why that time, well, no surprise. By the way, if you're doing this now, I don't want to say I advise you against it. If you're in an enterprise sales game, I think it is worth it for you, like getting some accounts either from your team or elsewhere, and then imagine you find some event which is attended by, I don't know, key manufacturing players, and you are selling a software for like 100 grand for these manufacturing companies. You can scrape event attendees or the group event names there, reach out to them, and at a very high chance you're either going to be hitting people who are potential buyers for you or are like one handshake away from your enterprise contracts. So this might make sense for you. Anyways, having lost my LinkedIn account after even like running some ads there, and with my other account, I think on LinkedIn, I was spending about like 10K a month on ads, and I was booking dozens of calls weekly. And I was like, okay, my dream life is not just be setting all these calls up in my DMs. And that's how I brought on the SDR, who messed up proxy settings and got my LinkedIn account banned. And I was like, yo, the first one, fine, you take that one. I get why. But with me playing the game fair and spending like 10 grand a month on ads on LinkedIn, and you still ban me, I'm like, I can't be advocating for such system where the moment you start winning, you actually risk getting your account banned. So that's why I thought, okay, I lost confidence in it, because look, I don't want to say the end outcomes I get people to, but one of the certain milestones I get founders to is like them hitting initial 20 calls a week and 20 qualified demos a week, because when you are booking between 10 and 20 a week, you're already past validation stage, and usually it's like you already have a offer dialed in by then, and it's like starting to turn in from this 0 to 1. It's now becoming a 1 to 10 type game, which I find is much easier to do actually than 0 to 1. And that's what brought me to be doing meta ads. And I've had a few people from YouTube recently reach out to me, like SaaS Founders Apply. And I think in the last few months, I like that more and more people start to notice the power of meta algorithm, because I'm glad I hopped on this train early on, about a year and a half ago. While these days, well, one thing, my face is one of the only faces you see when you put down meta ads on Google. Thanks to me uploading dozens and dozens of videos on this topic already. And secondly, I'm glad that more founders are, well, understanding all the pros and cons about the outbound game and understanding the power of LinkedIn, or I mean, meta algorithm, because I certainly believe that comparing to other ad platforms is just superior. I would say in some cases, Google ads do make some sense, but with LinkedIn, imagine there are a couple ways you can get results there, but your targeting options, even though they are quite precise, but they're quite limited. I'll explain you. So with LinkedIn, you can get a very decent cost per result when you are targeting groups, profiles, and events. But the moment you now have run out of all of them, LinkedIn algorithm is like nowhere near as smart as Meta algorithm in terms of understanding who to show your ads to once you are outside of your initial pocket. And that's why Meta long term, I believe, is like the best channel out there and can get you all the way to 8 figures and above. Because it's the only platform where you can have predictable CAC, and where you, once you go beyond initial targeting options, the platform is smart enough to understand for you who to start showing your message to. And if you acquire this skill, I honestly think it becomes a superpower, because then you can now test all different offers for and ideas which you come up with, and within days, instead of you needing to set up like and spend tens of hours setting up all this domains infrastructures, worrying if your emails get delivered or not, you know that you spent $3,000 and you get a feel of whether this offer is resonating or not. You don't find it anywhere else, you know. Awesome. So that's a bit about the past few years. And again, the reason I am doing it for such a significant amount of time now is because I think that me doing this SaaS advisory is like my ikigai, if you're familiar with this concept. If not, you can look this one up. So it's an intersection of something that you are good at, something that you love doing, and something that you can be compensated for. I think out of all things in life, this might be the only one which is a true interception of these ones for me, because thanks to me having like over 100 testimonials, I do believe I have now become quite good at it. Then I lose track of time when doing it, because you know, sometimes people, I hear they're like, I hate teaching others, or for them it's like quite a challenge. Well, for me, I would say that, funny enough, one of my talents is like not having some clear talents. And that's how back in my school years or later, it always required me quite significant time and effort to be achieving results with something. And by the time I achieved these results, whether it's like passing the exam or learning some martial art or whatever, I usually needed to put so much effort and thinking into it that by the time I get there, it becomes so much easier for me to explain someone else how to achieve the same result with like half the effort and twice the speed, you know. And that's why I think I love doing it so much. Well, secondly, you know, having earned some money with crypto a year back, I think this was the most unfulfilling money I've ever made in my life. So props to people who are doing this one full time, but for me, it's just I definitely prefer such businesses where I get to see the impact of my actions. For example, imagine I just had a situation when the founder has been watching my YouTube channel for a year, and he has fed all the info from my Telegram channel into Claude and ChatGPT. And he created this Denis bot, and he started asking this Denis bot how to scale his SaaS startup. So within 2 months, he got to 7K MRR just asking feedback from this Denis bot that he built, feeding all my free resources into it. And of course, it feels fucking great. And even happier I am that, look, we started, like, he applied a week ago telling me the story, and just over DMs, we just shook hands on my 6-month plan, and are already, like, in just couple days of me working with him, he doubled his pipeline already, just because I pinpointed a few things he's been doing wrong in and like he was seeing wrong with his pipeline. And also we increased budget after tweaking those. Well, he got from averaging 1 demo a day to 2 demos a day now, and the plan for the next few weeks is that we're gonna put couple appointment setters in, turn one of them into account executive, and at the same time build out the sales process such a way that he can step out from it without sacrificing close rates and get to like 20-40 demos a week, because this would get him and fast track him to 50K and 100K MRR later on. And this feels awesome, being able to contribute to stories like this. And I think that, especially comparing with some cash I made trading crypto, this is just so much more fulfilling. And I also have on this point, well, my model with this is that I usually partner up with founders for 6 to 12 months upfront, like for cash. I recently added a monthly plan too, just to make it easier for more people to work with me. And after I get to work with a person for 6 to 12 months and we understand that we're a good fit, then sometimes founders give me equity on top of that, so that I can be even more participant in their startups and in their growth. And that's the model I run now. And my vision for the next couple of years is so that outside of, let's say, 50 to 100 people and founders I'm working with on this cash basis, I also have equity in 10 to 20 startups. And just because I get to contribute so much to their growth, that they'd be happily, and some of them, I think right now I am on board of 6 startups already who decided to give me equity on top of my cash, just so that I can be even more participant in their stories. And I've got a call in 1 minute, but I wanna just, as I put it in the notes here, look, few more things about me, just so we get to know each other better. I love skiing, surfing, video games, spent thousands of hours playing them, traveling, hiking, and I'm into martial arts and boxing. Been doing BJJ for quite some time, switched to boxing just so that, because punching the bag gets me into the flow state. And this is usually how I spend my weeks. And these are about my interests. I'd say 80% of my time goes into helping out founders and walking outside, and then the other 20 towards all this other interests. And I'm gonna quickly wrap up with my vision for SaaS Camp is that from the moment I launched it, I was envisioning it as an offline thing. So that's why after I get to be working with 50 people or more at the same time, I think the next path for me is going to be either starting some offline events or starting or getting a place either in London or elsewhere where this could be now a physical space for people to exchange ideas, learn from each other, and just build fantastic businesses which they love. Appreciate you celebrating this 5K milestone with me. I'm gonna go on a call with one of the founders who applied to my program now, and appreciate you being here. Talk soon.